This episode has been sponsored by Meter, the company building better networks. If you're a technology business leader today, you're facing some really big challenges. CapEx and OpEx expenses continue to go up. There's a shortage of highly skilled networking professionals. And you want to make your teams more productive while also bringing down your total cost of ownership. Well, I've got some really good news for you. Meter is going to help you achieve all of that. Meter delivers a complete networking stack, wired, wireless, and cellular, in one integrated solution that's built for performance and scale. Meter has an entirely different business model. They're going to take on all of the risk. For new networking installation, they're going to buy out your existing hardware. They'll install the new hardware. And if that hardware actually evolves and actually improves over time, they'll even upgrade you for free as that technology changes. With Meter, businesses are getting fast, secure, and scalable connectivity without the complexity of managing multiple providers or tools. How great is that? More simplicity. We all need that. Meter's single integrated networking stack scales from branch offices, warehouses, and large campuses all the way to data centers, and is designed to give you deep control and visibility. Meter is reimagining what it means to get and stay online. To schedule your demo, go to meter.com/market impact. That's meter.com/marketimpact.
Welcome to another edition of Market Impact Insights, your podcast source for business leadership perspectives to help your business grow. Hear from experts in marketing, sales, business strategy, and more, with practical advice for business success. Make sure you won't miss the latest episodes by visiting marketimpactnow.com. Now, here's your host, Dan Albaum.
Welcome back to another great episode of Market Impact Insights. The discussion again today is around AI. It is changing fundamentally how we strategize, how we execute. It's changing so many aspects of our lives, and certainly changing everything from strategies around organization structure to how we actually connect and communicate. How do we build customer relationships and customer experiences that are really the rocket fuel for sustainable growth? Can't wait to get into this conversation with Phillip Swan. This is an area, AI, that he has deep experience in and passion around. He's the co-founder, chief product and go-to-market officer at Iridius. And he also is a former VP of sales at Microsoft Texas Instruments. He's done this at scale, and he's all about cutting through the noise and pinpointing what customers will pay for and use daily. So it's about the customer experience. He collaborates with teams to deliver compelling customer experiences throughout the buyer and customer journey. He also builds ecosystems that enable rapid time to revenue by integrating product, go-to-market strategies, and responsible AI. So let's get into it. Phillip, welcome to Market Impact Insights.
Hey, Dan, thanks for having me, man.
So we're going to start with a question, because I know you have some really interesting hobbies. And so we want to get to know you a little bit better. Phillip, what drives you outside of your work on AI?
Well, outside of my family, which is super important to me, is my hiking in the outdoors. I hike literally every single day, 7 days a week. I live in the mountains, and so at the end of a very busy day working in AI, I get to clear my mind in the mountains, walking at least 6 miles every single day. So that is my passion. I do a lot of thinking, a lot of clarity comes to me during these walks. And I think it's super important to get a break from work. And so it's when I catch up and listening to podcasts like this. And you've got to build your soul up as well as the business. So it's the responsibility is on us to do it ourselves. And that's how I take care of myself.
Well, I can tell you, I mean, we both live in the Pacific Northwest. So when you say that you're committed to that and you're doing it 365, that's rain or shine, right? And a lot of time it's not shining, it's raining.
That's right. That's right. And we've got an atmospheric river headed straight for us as we're recording this call. So we're about to hit an early fall. And I love that weather. It's there's no such thing as bad weather. There's only such thing as bad gear when you go on hiking. So it's always about being prepared.
Absolutely. So you've really just driven a successful career in and around technology. What really fueled your desire to head in that direction?
So what fueled me, originally, was I wanted to travel and work. I grew up in Scotland, and I grew up in Scotland at a time where it was the number two education system in the whole world. It was phenomenal, the education I got and the opportunities I had. But the opportunities I had from a career standpoint, once I graduated, didn't weren't there due to the political situation in the UK at that time. And we're talking back in the early 80s. And so I had to move. I had to move away from my country. And at that time, it was to the UK. And I really wanted to get into an environment where I can help people and where I can work with technology to help people. So it was originally where I started. It was working with technology to solve complex communication problems. And that has been my theme throughout my career, is from a technology standpoint, is how do you use technology to automate, repeat, and save the human spirit for doing what they're really best at. And so what has always driven me has always been that purpose of doing good for people. And my career has followed that and being on what I call, and many other people call, the bleeding edge of technology. So for me, it was doing things where nobody has done it before has always excited me. And I don't get fear from that. I'm like that 5-year-old at the party when the magician says, "Who wants to go and fly to the moon?" And go like, me. I want to go fly to the moon. Yeah. Well, how do you do it? Well, I don't know. I'll go figure it out, right? And ultimately, that's how I grew up. I grew up being a problem solver, and so. If anybody ever watched the movie The Martian, it's one of my favorite movies ever. There was a scene in there, this like, okay, we know we've got, before I get home, I've got to get through to step 444. I'm at step 2, right? And so it's always bringing back to reality of like where it's really recognizing what the end game, what future am I trying to solve for, and then putting a work back plan in place to go and do that. And that's the focus I've had throughout my whole career, is that what future am I solving for?
Yeah. So when you look back at your journey so far, what's been some of the biggest learning you've taken from that? And have there been surprises for you along the way?
Oh my gosh, every day is a surprise for me, especially in what we're doing today. It's a great question, Dan. The biggest ways I've learned are through my mistakes or where things have not gone well. That's the brutal reality of it. Yes, I absolutely leverage my strengths, but I really work to, what hasn't worked and learning from those and really making, bets every single day on moving the ball forward and getting progress. So some of the biggest surprises I've had have been where I've asked for help, not expecting to get any, and have been given some of the best help in the world, whether it's mentorship. I've been blessed with some of the best mentors in the world throughout my career, and just forming these bonds and relationships has been the biggest positive surprise in my career. But the reality of it is the biggest focus I've had from day one is putting myself always in my customer's shoes, right? So if I'm building a product, whether it's technology or consumer packaged products, which I've, God forbid, I don't know why I ever did that, but I did that just to try it, is really focusing in on driving where I'm particularly strong at. So really understanding where your strengths are, who you need to surround yourself with to offset your weaknesses, and keeping the team small, focused, and driving things and driving and having a common plan that is bought off across the entire company, not just within the team. So there's transparency as people are behaving this way because of these things that we put down in the plan. So there are no surprises internally or externally. And just because you're a startup doesn't mean to say you cannot have that level of discipline, and it's that level of discipline we bring to the table.
Yeah, there was so much in there to unpack. And, you talked about recognizing your own weaknesses. And so that means there's an element of self-awareness. And that can be tough as a leader, right? To be truly honest with
Mhm.
yourself and to say, yeah, I do have weaknesses, because sometimes we want to believe as a leader we really can't have any and we can be vulnerable.
Oh, that's exactly correct. And every day I wake up and literally jump out of bed every morning. I'm up early because I go walking early and I go walking late in the day. And it's all about self-motivation, because I don't believe you can motivate people. I think you can demotivate people as a manager and a leader, but motivation comes from within, and it's up to a leader. And I've learned this the very hard way, to be vulnerable enough to talk to people like, where can I do better? How did that meeting go? What should be better? So, as an example, you know, we have a quite a diverse team at the company, and my team, except for me, are all women, and the thing that I'm really working really hard on, because various ages, is different things motivate different people, and what having I have a 30-year-old son and a 26-year-old son, and I kind of understand what they're doing, but I don't, right? Because it's a different world that they have grown up with, even though they're my sons, and it's true for younger people. So I've taken learning experiences working with my sons to work with the younger people in my team, and on the team, and really that transparency, being open to feedback and receptive to feedback, is a very hard lesson that I've learned and continue to learn. And you made the point, it's not comfortable. It's hard not to get defensive.
Yeah.
And so the thing I've really learned hard to do is just like, shut the heck up and just listen. We're not here to solve. We're here to listen, to get people's feedback. And then we can go into how do we solve once we've had the dialogue around this. And I have been finding, especially very recently, that having that level of dialogue builds trust, it builds support, and it keeps the company moving forward in a singular direction.
Yeah, it just feels like so much more could be solved if we just made a commitment to listen more. I mean, it seems simple, harder to do, but
It's
more
not just
listening.
listening, Dan. It's also talking. It's asking the question. It's actually reaching out to people, right? I think that's the trick that I've been learning recently. Is like, you really want to talk to people about this. And I know this sounds really weird at my age to be talking about this, but it's really important. We're always learning. I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious.
Yeah, and of course, by asking those questions, if you've got a team, whether it's a small company or maybe you're in a business unit of a really large corporate environment, it doesn't matter. But as a leader, asking, showing interest, that's naturally going to drive that sense of engagement up. And we know there's a big correlation between engaged employees and then their loyalty and your ability to retain your top talent.
That's correct. And I look at traditionally how I look at at management, our roles as leaders is to hire the best people and also be rigorous on helping people succeed and helping people grow and helping people achieve their dreams, their aspirations, whether it's personal or career wise. It builds trust when you're showing genuine interest, I think.
Yeah. Well, Philip, we're all talking about it. We're thinking about it. And that's, of course, AI and all of the changes and the evolution that that's driving. What are you seeing as some of the biggest misperceptions that are still out there about AI? And is it really going to take a lot of our jobs?
So there's a lot to unpack in that question. So we're definitely in a hype cycle. We're definitely in the reality. So what we let's ground ourselves in AI. AI is not new. I went to university in the very early 80s, and I was programming in a language called Lisp, Lisp, which was used to program for AI. We were programming AI projects back then on very old equipment that couldn't support it. So yes, none of the projects ever succeeded. But what has happened over the last 30 years is that things like machine learning have crept into things like automobiles. BMW, over 20 years ago, really invested into ML, as did all the auto manufacturers. And so AI has been around us in financial services, been around us for a long time now. What is new is Gen AI and being available to the masses. Now, all of a sudden now you've got everybody screaming from the boards to the C-suite on down, you've got to be on AI. And then you've got all of these SaaS companies looking at, well, what the heck do we do in AI? And what's happening in that rush is that people are investing in the wrong things before getting the basics right. So AI is not the best thing since sliced bread and the answer to peace in the universe. It is not that. What it is ability to augment and automate incredible results if you are precise enough. So the key thing with AI is about context and giving it sufficient context and instruction that it will actually do it. So the way I describe it to people, think of AI today as like this brilliant toddler. Now with GPT-5, that toddler is now a grade schooler or even beyond that. But you know my point in terms of intelligence. But the evolution is happening here. We cannot rely on AI for everything. So the hype is that you've got to be ready for AI. What does AI readiness means? It means you've got to understand your data. You've got to understand, first of all, where it is, what data you have. You've got to understand, is it clean? Is it dirty? Is it noisy? How do you refine it? But once you've got that right, you also need to think about the AI use cases. Every company, whether small or large, thinks of themselves as unique. And to many regards, they are. But most companies actually have the same common patterns. And the patterns that we are seeing is that, one, they're not ready for AI, i.e. the data isn't ready for it. It's in various different levels of readiness. That is a problem that can be solved. That is a relatively easy problem to be solved. And the other part is picking the right use case to solve the right business outcome. And start small. Don't just jump into a massive project. And really focus in on what is the outcome. Back to my point earlier, what future are you solving for? The outcome is the same thing as what future are you solving for? Is I want to achieve these results. Now, it could be operational efficiency. It could be data retrieval. It could be augmentation. There are various use cases that have absolutely got real validity. And now, post Gen AI, we're hearing about agentic AI. And what is an AI agent and what is agentic AI? And there's so much confusion in the marketplace and noise in the marketplace. Everybody's talking about agents, and greater than 90% of the companies out there talking about agents and agentic AI are not talking about how we or a few others are talking about it, which is a true multi-agent system that is truly parallel in terms of operation. So you have multiple things happening at the same time. So you get performance, you get scale, and you get reliability and safety. And we haven't gotten to the trust aspect. Nobody really at the enterprise or B2B level trusts AI, and they're right to believe that. which means there has to be safety and responsibility built into the very core of the system that you're building. And that's what we at Iridius have done, right?
Okay.
We solved two core problems. We solved safe and responsible AI and the new AI blueprint for developing AI solutions. So our system, our Iridius Solution Factory, builds complex AI solutions that integrate with bespoke and legacy systems or existing systems in the business, and does that in days versus months and years. So this is not vibe coding. Vibe coding is rapid prototyping. It's not production ready code. We get you to production ready code that your software engineers and builders can then take and actually go through all the functional testing. But we've gone through all the user acceptance testing, all the unit testing. And so what you are left to do is the functional testing and the end user testing. And so it's that trust. So having a solution that you can trust, which is why so many AI projects never go out of production, out of R&D and into production, because legal and risk and others are going, no, you're not in compliance here. So what we do is that we get you compliant from the very start, as you are even starting to think about what it is, the intent of what it is you're trying to build. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, you're bringing just so much more peace of mind and confidence into any of those initiatives, and you're doing it right up front. That is compelling. And if we think about organizations wanting to be successful with AI, where do you see the company's culture and executive leadership coming into play to really get that successful scaling of use?
Oh, wow. That is something we tackle every single day here and deeply passionate about it. So change management is massive, right? Because what you're really talking about is change management and the state, and how do you institute change? Because your earlier part of this question to unbundle, is it coming after my job? It may be coming after your job title, but it's not coming after your job. I think people's jobs and new roles are going to be created as a result. I mean, we're hearing all the negativity about, no entry-level jobs here. What are the young people going to do coming out of university? Well, guess what? They may not be called a software engineer now. They may be called a prompt engineer now, or an AI operations manager, or something different where, it's just a different title. It's the same job, because what I have learned, and this is part of I'm older, right? And you've heard me say this. I mean, I grew up in the days of, I had to write assemblers to, and I know it's a very technical term, I used to program in machine code. That's how basic it was back in the day I was, right? And what we're doing is like, we are literally assembling in a factory, just like building an assembler or a compiler in the old days of taking lines of code and compiling into an executable image. It's the same thing here. We're taking an intent, and it's a business intent. It's an outcome that you're trying to achieve with some level of with some level of ideas, and really taking that and building out your compliance solution right before you even get into any user acceptance testing. So the challenge that we are seeing in terms of change management is people grokking. I want to explain. I love the term grok. If you're not familiar with it, it comes from a 1960s sci-fi novel, A Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein. And it's where you have the emotional and 360-degree view of your customer. It was the challenge that you're facing. So for management and for leadership is trust your people, but give them guidelines, give them guardrails, give them the governance. Tell them, as long as you stay within these confines, you're going to be good. We will get you to yes. And leadership has to come together and say, yes, we are doing this. And especially legal, compliance, and risk need to be on that same page, so that they're going into these reviews that I'm coming on it in a way that I want to say yes, right, as opposed to wanting to say no. So that we're giving that ideal customer for us. That's one of our ICPs. Is the tools that they can get what they need so that they can sign their name and certify that whatever's about to be deployed into production is compliant. And that's the environment that we're going to do. And then you need to reward your people for the right behaviors that you want to bring in AI into your company. And just saying that ChatGPT is my AI strategy does not work. That is not your strategy and should not be your strategy. And you should run scared from that if that is your strategy. Because the challenge that you have then is it's like you're now relying on a single model. You're now relying on your prompts. You're now relying is what we bring together is you want to bring the best of all worlds. When we talk about an agent could be anything. It could be a human. It can be data. It can be code. It can be an outcome. We don't care. What we do is that we integrate with existing systems, legacy systems, and we bring it to life where the agentic world needs to be, right? So think about repeatable tasks that can go off. And we think about an agent. That agent does one thing and one thing only. It is very finite. And that's the key to context. Is that so when we talk about agents in the millions and billions. The limits that we hit up in our platform are Azure or GCP or AWS limits. They're not our limits because we have a platform that does all of the orchestration internally. We've designed that architecture in such a way that the orchestration layer is actually done within the agent itself. And so that we have this messaging and very secured messaging protocol that we've articulated and designed and built in that enables all these agents, including humans, so humans in the loop, to communicate with the solution and to communicate back with the human. And the key is, again, about having the right governance in place and the right ethics. And when we talk about safe and responsible AI, we talk about FATE. We talk about fairness, accountability, transparency, and explainability. So we give you all of that. So there's both while the solution is running at runtime, we're monitoring. So think of us a lot like Windows Defender, right? Defending against, so we have the team of people that is, as these standards and regulations evolve, as your governance evolves, all we do is we ingest it and we grok it, and so that everything is now compliant. And you then have a sliding scale whether to go to full compliance, partial compliance, depending on the use case. And you have that complete, control and visibility. And that's the important thing for leadership to know, that they have that explainability, that observability, that they know and can prove that the system and the solution and the solutions are behaving the way they're supposed to be doing. And the beauty of agentic systems, of true agentic systems versus older software development practices, is that these old, you can talk about SaaS, they're very brittle tools and there's very little flexibility. They do, they're not goal-oriented, they're task-oriented, versus agents, the difference is it's services software now. It's performing a goal, right? Yes, they're doing tasks, but they're performing towards a goal. And that goal can be different. And again, that agent can be human, data, it doesn't matter. We don't care what the agent is, an input, an output, and which is how we're able to get the level of accuracy and eliminate that thing called hallucination by over 97% because of the context that we give it.
Yeah. What about security? How should we be thinking about that in an AI world?
Security is paramount. You are seeing a lot of AI security tools out there, and there's a lot of hype there. Some of them are good. What we have done is we've taken a different approach to security. We've actually built, rather than bolting security on, we've actually integrated security right into the runtime. So what does that mean? Is that we protect these agents, right? So we don't only do the standard, encryption, data at rest and data in motion, but we actually, in the appropriate cases, do encryption, data in compute, as an example. So polymorphic encryption. I know it's probably way too technical for your audience, but that's just one example. We have a whole set of functionality built into the runtime to protect the system. So we operate on what's called a zero trust model. So we literally treat every single agent as hostile. So it's least privileged. So we don't, and you've got also the entitlements of these agents. What are they entitled to do? So a CEO's set of agents of a company is going to have a different level of authorities than a data analyst does, or a data scientist does. The other part of the titles, how do these agents behave? Because what we haven't spoken about, Dan, is how do these agents behave? And when you bring those into a company, just think of it like an intern. Would you bring an intern into your company, whether you're a startup or a large enterprise, and just let them loose without any training, without any guidelines, without any governance? No, you wouldn't. And more importantly, you're going to train them on the culture. The same things, very same things apply to agents. You have to teach them about your company culture. You have to teach them about your company's governance. You have to teach them about the code of conduct. All of these things we build into there. You feed us how every customer is different in that regard. And so just you feed that into the system, and literally the time to value you get is almost immediate. We're talking single digit minutes for time to value with our solution and with our solution factory. And what we bring to the table is all of that change management to help not only the C-suite, but other leaders in the company, as well as the doers and builders in the company, all march to the same drum, knowing that, hey, let's go and experiment with this crazy idea for innovation, but let's do it safely. Now, one of my colleagues said this very, very succinctly this morning. What we don't protect against is a bad idea. So if you feed us a bad idea, we'll provide a safe bad idea, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's a very true idea. We don't save you from yourself in that regard.
Yeah. But I love the analogy that you made around the interns. I mean, this is really the ultimate intern onboarding kind of strategy is what you're talking about, right? And then applying that to AI. And you've been in leadership roles in really large and successful organizations. And then from more of an entrepreneurial perspective, what do you think separates truly exceptional leadership from just good enough?
It comes down to leadership principles, I think. Mm-hmm. And I don't think any company is too small to have leadership principles. It starts at the top. It starts with the CEO, and it rolls down from there. So if the CEO is not holding their team accountable, as in their directs, in the case of a startup, their co-founders maybe, everybody in the team accountable, there's just no other way around it. Now, it's not accountability. We're just beating you up every day and every day. It's like, okay, let's work the plan. Let's help each other. Let me help you to give you what what I feel you need. Again, it's like wrapping yourself or your superpowers around with people who can help and augment you, as well as AI. And really focus in on driving that outcome from the accountability, because I don't care whether you're a startup or an enterprise, you still have to achieve results. Businesses are still driven by revenue. They're still driven by customers. And there are good customers and there are bad customers. How do you get the good customers and how do you get the excellent customers? And that comes down to patterns and recognizing the patterns and going after the customers that share these patterns that you can solve every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Yeah. It comes back to just knowing who your ideal customer is and then putting in the systems and the approach and being very intentional about going and then building the relationships with that profile.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. What's the best piece of business advice you've ever received?
The best piece of business advice I've ever received was always ask the question and let them say no. And no matter how tough or how uncomfortable the question is, I found that to be the best piece of advice I ever received. And it's the simplest. Let them say no. And I have had very few customers or advisors or anybody else when I've gone with those hard, awkward questions tell me no. They've not said yes necessarily, but they've said, okay, let's work and we come to a solution. But that's the best one I came up with.
Yeah, that is really interesting because I'm convinced that so many of us are self-sabotagers in that we stop ourselves from ever asking the question because we go to worst possible outcome and we assume the answer is going to be no. And so we never even make the attempt to ask. And what a shame.
There's the word right there. We all know what assume means. That is the assumptions are, I try hard to stay away from assumptions, and assumptions lead to bias, and the bias is the death of us. So, and that's true for AI as well, by the way. And it's, I couldn't agree more.
Phillip, when you think about the future, what makes you optimistic?
What makes me optimistic is we're going to get through this. There's huge disruption and transformation that's going to occur over the next 5 to 10 years. Everybody's arguing, when's AGI coming? AGI is artificial general intelligence, where you cannot tell the difference whether you're talking to a human or a computer. Some may argue that we're here there. I don't believe we're here there. We're here yet. But what gets me excited for the future is how to augment human superpowers with AI so that I have a fundamental belief that every single person on this planet has a superpower. They may not have discovered it yet, but they have one. And how to leverage that superpower and augment yourself with AI for all the other stuff around you that you don't want to actually do because you're not passionate about it, but it still needs to get done. It's a job that needs to get done and you have to get it done. Leverage AI as much as possible to do that and focus in on your superpowers. And that keeps me really excited about the future, that human innovation, human ingenuity, human consciousness is still very much going to be part of whatever AI solutions are going to be built over the coming decades. And things are going to change. What keeps me positive is that AI is going to be woven into the very fabric of everything we do within 10 years, and especially in the enterprise. And companies that are not embracing AI today are going to be left behind. That is a true statement. And so sticking your head in the sand saying, I'm not doing it because of all the risks, that's actually why companies like us are in business, to allow you to innovate vis-a-vis your competition, leveraging AI in a safe and compliant way and secure way.
Do you have any other final advice for leaders who are trying to deliver an amazing customer experience leveraging AI and elevating the performance of their teams?
Oh, heck yes. As a C-suite, talk to your customers. Talk to even the lowest level of your customers to understand their pain points, because you can hear all you want from marketing, from product, from sales, and for anybody who's in a customer-facing role like customer success. But there's no substitute for you talking to customers in a random way, to hear from them firsthand, asking them questions. And my way of doing that in the past was, I've been blessed having designed some of the most popular mobile products out there at the time. Pocket PC was one of them at Microsoft, and the thing that I always got excited about was like when I was flying around the world like crazy at the time, and I was on a flight to Asia, sitting next to somebody in business class, and they're using a Pocket PC, and I've talked to them about it, and then suddenly look at me like, a lot about this product, and I'm like, well, I kind of helped design it, and getting their feedback. It's just getting raw feedback from your customer, and then and really getting that perspective and feeding that into the organization so you can help fashion and help your product people, your marketing people, your sales people get clarity on the messaging, on the vision, and because as the C-suite, you own the vision and you own the execution, you own the delivery, your operators, right? And so enabling your people to be to keep you safe and responsible, it doesn't happen by a team of one. It happens with a village. And keep the team small is my point, and bring on real experts. Just like the early days of data science, and like in 2008, everybody says they're data scientists. Well, everybody's saying they're an AI expert. They're not. And there are very few AI experts out there, which is why you're hearing Meta and others offering these exorbitant amounts,
unbelievable amounts of money,
right? Because there are, and I'm not joking, there are literally 10,000 AI engineers right now who really understand AI, and I mean really understand AI, who can make it sing, is the way I like to do it. We're blessed that we've got 4 of them in this company at Iridius. Amazing that we've got these 4, the team that we have. But that number is not going to get much larger anytime soon. It is going to grow, but the demand is way outweighing the availability of these people. So get the right people on your team, and you're not going to find these. So work with companies like Iridius that are going to keep you safe and responsible. Allow your AI team to come along the journey that you can build that AI expertise in-house, and we will help you do that.
Well, Phillip, thanks for sharing your successful journey, your passion, and the vision for what AI can bring and its goodness. And there's a human factor, and we don't need to be fearful, and we need to embrace it. And the possibilities are endless. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Likewise, Dan. Hey, I'd love to catch up with coffee for you now that we know that you live in the Pacific Northwest. Let's go and grab a coffee sometime.
Absolutely. And a reminder, please continue to give the gift of feedback to help make this podcast even better. You can do that by going out and giving us a rating and a review. It's so easy to do on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast and Spotify. And as always, make sure to visit marketimpactnow.com for the latest in business leadership perspectives. So long until next time.